Pillay is sitting next to me, Deputy Director General for Health Regulation and Compliance in South African Department of Health. Is that it?
That's right.
What a title. You are here to talk about this issue, which is from global health to One Health. What is the main issue that we should consider?
I think access to healthcare and to achieve the outcomes globally that have been achieved in many of the developed countries is a challenge that many countries in the developing world need to get to, and I think that's what we need to recognize. We're one world, and so we should achieve one healthcare in terms of outcomes. Yeah.
What do you mean by access to the health? You mean to be a free access?
Well, yes, free, but also the quality of care as well. I was sitting in a session just now where we were talking about access to vaccines. And it's interesting, in France, the narrative is about convincing people to take vaccines. Whereas in South Africa, it's the total opposite. People actually want the vaccines.
But they don't have.
They don't have access to it. So it's a very different conversation. So I think that's what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah.
But what is the right attitude to adopt? Is that to like the French attitude to don't have vaccines anymore, or to have it a lot? What is the right attitude?
Well, in South Africa, South Africans recognize the value of vaccines. Hence, they're demanding vaccines. In many cases, they are either unable to afford it, or there are shortages and vaccine suppliers are not able to supply sufficient quantities. And so you'll see huge public demonstrations and complaints that there are insufficient vaccines available in the country at certain points in time. Yet here the narrative is the opposite. There is enough vaccines, people just don't want to take them, right?
Are the vaccines too expensive still?
Yes, in South Africa, I mean, when you look at the income of a household and you look at the cost of the vaccines, some of the vaccines are very highly priced. Not all of them, but some of them are really highly priced. And so that's certainly a barrier to many people, yes.
And do people realize that we are in this One Health issue in a whole, like animal health, human health, environment, all these things are linked?
I think the public don't always realize the importance of the linkage, and their behavior influences a myriad of other sectors. So I think it's our responsibility to make sure we keep emphasizing this point and bringing this to the fore in terms of the way the public interact with the various sectors and their own personal behavior in this regard.
Do you try to do that in your everyday life?
Yes, so in the Ministry of Health, we encourage people not to use antimicrobials, for example, where it's not necessary, and we in the public health system only have access to certain antimicrobials and not the more potent ones, simply because if they're routinely used, we would have a serious problem in terms of resistance. Yes.
Thank you. Many thank you, Anban Pillay. We will see you at the session from Global Health to One Health in this closing session. Thank you for being with us. And now next guest is Jordi Cabro, from the CEO from Cabro Business Consulting. He's from the part of CIDO. Thank you.
Thank you.